Now, what is this new Hwasong-19 ICBM that North Korea claims to have test-fired on Thursday, and how much of a threat is this? Let's turn to Professor Min Jeong-hun for more this morning. Welcome back, Professor Min.
Good morning.
So let's cut to the chase. What about this Hwasong-19 intercontinental ballistic missile? What do we know about this missile so far?
Yes, the South Korean military said Thursday that the missile was fired at a lofted angle at about 7:10 a.m. from Pyongyang area, and it flew about 1,000 kilometers before coming down in the East Sea. Mm-hmm. And the missile was assessed as a new solid fuel ICBM, which North Korea calls Hwasong-19. And the flight time of the ICBM was 86 minutes, and its maximum altitude was over 7,000 kilometers, and both of them are known to be their highest levels ever. And the existing Hwasong-18 is estimated to fly over 15,000 kilometers, which is enough to strike the entire United States. If it is launched at a normal angle, like 30 to 45 degrees, but the range of this missile, Hwasong-19, is increased even further. And it also said that the South Korean military's initial assessment shows that there is a possibility that North Korea test-fired a new type of solid fuel long-range ballistic missile, and that the missile was launched from the 12-axis tail that North Korea recently revealed, which means that North Korea's the technology has been improved. But it said that the further analysis is needed to determine whether the missile is an improved version of the existing Hwasong-18 or a completely new ICBM like the Hwasong-19. Meanwhile, North Korean state media described the ICBM as an ultimate powerful offensive means and the ultimate version of its long-range missile series. It also reported that Chairman Kim expressed satisfaction for the launch. And last but not least, the ICBM launch came just a few days before the U.S. president election. So it is said that the intention of the North Korea's military provocation was to show off its capability to deliver nuclear warhead to the United States and divert attention from recent condemnation of its troop deployment to Russia.
Well, Professor Min, what's also notable is that the leader, Kim Jong-un, made note of the missile launch just hours after the missile launch yesterday. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that the missile launch was a well-planned one?
Yes, I think so. The Chairman Kim claimed that the ICBM launch was an appropriate military activity to signal their will to respond to the enemy. And he said at the ICBM launch site Thursday that the ICBM launch was appropriate. Again, the military activity that signaled their will to respond to the enemies who have recently aggravated the regional situation and threatened the security of the country, and that it was an essential process of upgrading the country's strategic attack force. And he also emphasized that North Korea would never change its line of strengthening its nuclear force. In addition, he emphasized the necessity of ICBM as a strategic deterrent. And meanwhile, the North Korea state media North Korea said the Minister of the Foreign Defense said that the ICBM launch was carried out under the order of the head of state, Chairman Kim, and renewed the latest record of strategic missile capabilities and demonstrated the modernity and reliability of its strategic deterrence. So it shows that the missile launch was a well-planned test, and it also proves that North Korea will never give up its nuclear and missile capabilities.
Well, it's not just missile launch. Speculations are high that the North may also stage what will be the regime's 7th nuclear test, around the time of the U.S. election, which is already next week. But possibly at Tunnel 3 of the Punggye-ri nuclear site, experts say. Professor Min, why Tunnel 3? Why not 1 or 2 or 4?
Well, you may remember what happened when South Korea led the three nations, the nuclear talks among South Korea, U.S., and North Korea, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And at the time, North Korea had an event to blow up the Punggye-ri nuclear site when it engaged in the nuclear talks with the United States, like the performance
Right.
About the 5 or 6 years ago. Then it was known that Tunnel 3 or Tunnel 4 could be reconstructed or renewed, and the Tunnel 1 or 2 was gone. So the Tunnel 3 or Tunnel 4 could be available if North Korea wanted to resume its nuclear test. And after the Hanoi summit failed to reach an agreement, North Korea tried to restore the Punggye-ri nuclear site for possibly another nuclear test if necessary. So it is likely that Tunnel 3 could be used if North Korea wanted to take the 7th nuclear test. But it's not still clear whether North Korea would take another nuclear test like before or after the U.S. president election, because taking a nuclear test, another nuclear test, could significantly affect North Korea's international standing and its relations with major countries like the U.S., Russia, and China.
Well, whether it's a missile launch or a nuclear test, the North, we all know, will make the decisions that work in favor of the regime. Professor Min, do you think a nuclear test is the best call the regime can make at the moment?
Well, I'm not sure if another nuclear test would be the best call for North Korea. It's mainly because, again, another nuclear test will significantly negatively affect North Korea's international standing and, more importantly, its relations with its major countries like the U.S., China, and Russia. Compared to the missile propagations, U.S. will likely be much tougher in coping with North Korea's nuclear test. And U.S. will also strongly pressure China to do more to cope with North Korea's nuclear provocations. And in the face of its strategic competition with the U.S., China want to manage its relations with the United States. So there is a possibility that China could be more active to play a greater role in pressuring North Korea in coping with North Korea's nuclear provocations. And Russia could also face an embarrassing situation because it will be criticized for the nuclear test on the basis of its increasing military cooperation with North Korea. So taken together, I think North Korea's another nuclear test will come with a huge opportunity cost. So I think that North Korea would be careful to make a decision to go for another nuclear test.
Alrighty, Professor Min, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.